I was supposed to marry her in 2 weeks. Instead, I watched her walk into a hotel room with 3 guys, thinking she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She had this infectious energy, the kind that made you want to stay a little longer, just to be near her. By the end of that night, we were out on the patio, lost in conversation about music, movies, travel, dreams. I was already in too deep. We started dating a few weeks later. Within a year, we were living together. Things felt perfect, or at least, I thought they did. Sure, Laura liked to party more than I did, but I never saw it as a problem. If anything, I figured we balanced each other. I kept us grounded, she brought the spark. When I proposed last year, I was certain I'd found my forever person. She cried, said yes instantly, and we started planning our wedding with this shared sense of excitement. Venues, cake tastings, even dumb arguments about having an open bar, it all felt like a dream coming together. Until the package. I wasn't even supposed to be home that day. My shift ended early, and I figured I'd surprise Laura by cooking dinner. But when I reached the apartment, there it was, a small, glittery gift bag at the door. The tag read, "To the wildest bride-to-be, you deserved every second of it. Love, Tasha." Tasha, her best friend. Always loud, always extra, always pulling Laura into spontaneous nights out. I never really liked her, but I tolerated her for Laura's sake. I brought the bag inside and stared at it. Something didn't sit right. It felt off. Eventually, I opened it. Told myself it wasn't snooping. It was addressed to Laura and left in plain sight. What harm could there be? Inside were all the typical bachelorette party props: plastic tiara, bride's last ride, sash, confetti. But at the bottom, used men's boxers. Not freshly laundered. Used. My gut twisted. Maybe a prank? A crude joke? Then I noticed the flash drive. I don't even know why I plugged it into my laptop. Curiosity? A bad feeling? Whatever it was, I clicked on the only file. The video started innocently enough: Laura at a club, tiara on her head, laughing with friends. But something about her felt different. More than just celebrating. She looked unleashed. Then it got worse. The video jumped to her on stage at a strip club, grinding on a male dancer while her friends cheered. Uncomfortable? Sure. But maybe forgivable. Then she led him off stage, giggling. I paused it. Told myself, maybe it's just for show. Maybe it was harmless. But deep down, I knew better. The next clip erased any hope. Laura in a lounge area, surrounded by 3 guys. Flirting. Drinking. One kissed her. She kissed back. Then another. She didn't stop them. Final shot. Laura leading all 3 into a hotel room. Tasha's voice behind the camera. "You're a legend. Bride of the year." I sat there frozen. This wasn't the woman I fell asleep next to every night. This wasn't the person I'd asked to marry me. That night, she came home like nothing had happened, kissed me, chatted about centerpiece ideas. I smiled. Said nothing. But something in me broke. I couldn't look at her the same way. The next morning, after she left for work, I packed. Duffel bag, essentials, my laptop. No plan, just out. I booked a cabin 2 hours away, left the deposit for the venue behind. Called them to cancel. Change of plans. Driving away, my phone buzzed nonstop. I ignored it. The cabin was quiet, small, perfect. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying everything. Her voice. Her laughter. That kiss. And then the texts. "Where are you? Ryan, this isn't funny. Please come back. I love you." I didn't answer. Instead, I called her parents. When I told them why the wedding was off, her mom broke down. Her dad was furious. They had no idea. Said they raised her better. And maybe they did. But that night she made her choice. I'm not going back. The second morning in that cabin felt like waking up inside someone else's life. No alarms, no buzzing phone, no scent of Laura's perfume in the sheets. Just silence. A thick, heavy kind of quiet that didn't comfort, it accused. I didn't know what I expected from leaving. Maybe that the world would stop. Maybe she'd show up crying, or her friends would try to reach me. But instead, there was just that damn buzzing phone and a notification bubble that kept climbing into the double digits. I checked it once. 27 missed calls. 14 messages. Her number. Tasha's. Even Rachel, one of Laura's calmer friends. The last text from Laura said, "Please don't shut me out. I can explain. I love you." Explain what? That she let 3 men touch her like I didn't matter? That she let her best friend film it like a highlight reel? I put the phone down, face down, and left it. I went outside. Walked down a small trail near the cabin that led to the lake. It was still partially frozen, winter stubbornly holding on. I stood at the edge, letting the cold bite through my sleeves. My breath came in clouds. I thought about our honeymoon plans. Santorini, the little villa with the infinity pool Laura found online. I wanted to laugh. Instead, I sat on a flat rock and watched the water for a long time. Around noon, I went back inside, made coffee, sat at the small table by the window. The silence kept pressing in. It wasn't peace, it was a void. That's when I did something I didn't plan. I texted Tasha. Not from my number. I downloaded a burner app, created a new one. I didn't want her knowing where I was or trying to trace anything. Me, burner, it's Ryan. We need to talk. Alone. Coffee shop on 7th, tomorrow at noon. She replied in under 5 minutes. Tasha, Ryan? WTF. Are you okay? Is Laura okay? What is this? I didn't answer. The next day I drove back to the city. Parked 3 blocks from the cafe. Wore a hoodie. Sat in my car and waited. Noon exactly, there she was. Tasha. Predictable, as always. Pink blazer. Designer bag. Sunglasses. Inside. Like the sun wouldn't dare not find her. I gave it a few minutes, then walked in. She was mid-latte, scrolling her phone. When she saw me, she froze. Then smiled. Fake, tight. Ryan, she said, voice too sweet. You scared the hell out of me with that text. I sat. Didn't touch the menu. Cut the crap, I said. I saw the flash drive. Her smile didn't falter, at first. What flash drive? The one in the package you left. The one with Laura's entire bachelorette night documented like a Netflix special. She blinked. Twice. Laughed nervously. Come on. That's just bachelorette party stuff. You're not seriously. You gave her a legend badge while she walked into a room with 3 guys. Her face turned red. Not guilt, irritation. You're overreacting. No. I'm waking up. She leaned back, crossed her arms. She was drunk. It was just one night. She loves you, Ryan. She didn't seem drunk. She seemed free. And happy. And not once did she say my name. Tasha scoffed. You're being dramatic. I pulled out my phone, showed her a screenshot. A message from her to Laura, bride of the year. Don't feel guilty. You own that stage. Her lips parted slightly, then shut. She made her choices, I said. But you helped. You filmed it. You celebrated it. You wrapped it up in glitter and left it at my door. Tasha looked around, dropped her voice. You think blowing this up helps anyone? I think pretending it's nothing makes me an idiot. I'm done with that. I stood, left her sitting there, her coffee untouched. Back at the cabin, I finally opened Laura's last few texts. Ryan, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I don't remember everything. Tasha kept pushing me. Blame. Deflection. Desperation. I turned the phone off. Again, I didn't need more words. I needed silence that told the truth. I spent most of the day in that cabin doing nothing. Not reading. Not writing. Just thinking. The kind of thinking that circles itself. Playing the same footage in my head on repeat. The laughter, the kisses, the hotel door closing. I hadn't told anyone yet. Not friends, not her family. It still didn't feel real. Like maybe if I ignored it long enough, it would reverse itself. But that's not how betrayal works. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling, listening to the creaks in the cabin. Every sound felt like it could be her, coming to find me, to explain, to lie. The next morning, I grabbed my phone and stared at it for a long time before finally calling someone I never thought I would. Her mom. Janet answered fast. Ryan, where are you? Laura's a mess. I need to talk to you. Both of you. In person. There was a long pause. We'll be here. I drove back to the city. Quiet streets. Gray sky. The world felt muted. Their house looked the same. Perfect yard, clean porch, like nothing bad ever happened behind that door. But inside, Henry stood stiff near the fireplace, arms crossed. Janet sat tensely on the couch. I'll get to it, I said, not sitting. The wedding's off. Janet's face fell. Why? I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone and handed it to her. Watch. She did. Her hand covered her mouth. Then she passed it to Henry. He watched in silence. But his eyes turned red. This can't be real, Janet whispered. She sent it home with a note. I said. Her best friend recorded it. Henry's voice was quiet but sharp. What the hell was she thinking? I don't know. And I don't care anymore. Janet shook her head. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe she was pressured. No, I cut in. She wasn't pressured. She was celebrated. You should hear the video. They were cheering her on. Henry muttered. That girl. And sat down hard in his chair. I stood at the door. I wanted you to know. Because she won't tell you the truth. And I'm not going to be the guy who walks down the aisle pretending this didn't happen. Janet reached for me. Please don't tell anyone else. This would destroy her reputation. Our family, I stepped back. That's not my concern anymore. I walked out. That night, I slept a little easier. Not because anything was fixed, but because the mask had finally fallen. And now, there was no more pretending. The fallout didn't take long. By the weekend, the truth had started to spread. I hadn't said anything to anyone except her parents, but people talk. Tasha probably. Or maybe Laura tried to do damage control and it backfired. Either way, I started getting messages. Not from her. From mutual friends. People I hadn't spoken to in months. Even Chloe, who always stayed neutral. Hey Ryan, I heard what happened. I just want to say I'm sorry. None of us knew it was that bad. Then Rachel messaged if I'd known what Laura did that night. I swear, I would have said something. Would you have? I didn't reply. But it was clear. The cracks were showing. Laura had always been the center of the group. The fun one. The planner. The glue. Now, people were distancing themselves. Fast. I heard she called Rachel 5 times in a day. No answer. She tried to show up at Chloe's place. Chloe didn't open the door. Tasha? Radio silence. Guess she didn't like the fire she helped start. By Sunday, Laura messaged me again. I finally checked the thread. Ryan, please. I lost everything. Everyone's ignoring me. My parents won't even answer. I made a mistake. I was stupid. I was drunk. I hate myself. I love you. Please. Just talk to me. Still, I said nothing. Because love isn't just words. It's choices. And she made hers. Let her sit in the echo of her own silence. It was Chloe who gave me the first real glimpse into what was happening behind the curtain. She texted late at night. I'm not trying to stir anything. But Laura's not doing well. I stared at the screen for a moment. I didn't ask for more, but I didn't need to. 10 minutes later, Chloe sent a second message. Her parents kicked her out. Tasha's not talking to her. Rachel blocked her. She's staying at a cheap motel for now. I think she lost her job too. I just sat there, letting the words sink in. Chloe didn't follow up. She didn't have to. For the first time in years, Laura didn't have anyone to run to. Her parents had always been there with a safety net. Her friends were her shield. Her job, set up by her dad, was her comfort zone. Now all of it was gone. I didn't feel joy. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't give me a sense of clarity. Like gravity finally caught up to her. No more soft landings. The next day, Eric, one of the few mutuals I still respected, called me out of the blue. She called me, he said, skipping the greeting. Wanted to crash at my place. Said she just needed a few nights. What did you say? I said no. I waited, but he kept talking. She sounded desperate. But man, you don't do what she did and expect people to pretend it's normal. She lit the match. I'm not handing her a blanket. There was silence between us. Then he added, you okay? Getting there, I said. And it wasn't a lie. Later that night, I broke my silence. Opened her message thread and scrolled to the bottom. Her latest text was hours old. Ryan, I'm sorry. I know I keep saying that, but I don't know what else to do. I lost everything. I know I messed up. Please don't shut me out forever. I locked the phone. Didn't reply. Because this wasn't about punishment. It was about reality. She wasn't just reaping what she sowed. She was finally feeling the weight of it. And I wasn't going to carry it for her anymore. 3 days passed. I didn't expect to hear from her father. But I did. Henry called me from his work number, of all things. I almost didn't pick up. But something told me to. Ryan, he said. I won't take much of your time. I sat on the porch of the cabin, the lake behind me frozen in stillness. All right. She came by the house, he continued. We told her not to. Janet wouldn't let her in. She cried on the porch for half an hour. I said nothing. I just wanted to say, he went on, we don't blame you. Not even a little. You were good to her. Better than she deserved. That was probably the closest thing to an apology I'd ever hear from Henry. Thanks, I said. She's talking like she wants to fix everything. Begging for second chances. She's not ready for one. No, he agreed. She's not. We hung up. That night, I had a dream I hadn't had in years. We were in Santorini, the honeymoon trip we never took. She was laughing on a balcony, the sun setting behind her. She looked, right? Normal. Innocent. But I knew it wasn't real. Even in the dream, I knew. I woke up with a jolt. Heart pounding. Alone. I made coffee and stared out over the lake, and I thought about how much of our life was built on what I thought I knew. She used to say I made her feel safe. I realized now I was her stability, not her partner. I was the life raft she clung to while secretly dreaming of open water. I don't know what made me do it, but I drove back to the city that afternoon. Not to see her. Just to move. I still had stuff at the apartment. I hadn't gone back since the day I left. When I got there, the building felt unfamiliar. Like a place I once knew. I walked up, unlocked the door. She wasn't there. Thank God. But her presence lingered, scattered boxes, a mug on the counter, a coat over a chair. The place was in disarray. She'd been here, but not really. I packed quickly. Essentials. A few photos I still couldn't part with, even if they hurt. I left the ring in the top drawer, wrapped in its velvet box. Then I saw the envelope. My name, scrawled in her handwriting. I hesitated, then opened it. _Ryan. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I can't undo what I did, but I still love you. That's the one part that wasn't fake. I was stupid. I thought I could have one night to blow off steam, and no one would know. I didn't think about what I was destroying. I didn't think. You always made me feel like I had a future. Like I was capable of more than chaos. I wish I'd believed that enough to protect it. I'm sorry. For everything. If you never speak to me again, I'll understand. But if there's ever a day you think you can look at me without hate, I'll be waiting. Laura, _. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. I didn't rip it. I didn't text her. I just left. On the way back to the cabin, my phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number. Probably her. Or someone speaking for her. I turned the phone off. Some pain isn't meant to be soothed. Some silences aren't meant to be broken. Some choices echo forever. And she was finally hearing the echo. She showed up. I should have expected it. Maybe part of me did. I was standing in the kitchen of the cabin, making coffee, when I saw the car pull up through the window. Small, silver, beat up. Definitely a rental. For a second, I thought it was the delivery guy I hadn't ordered. But then I saw her. Laura. She stepped out slowly. Hair tied back, oversized hoodie, dark jeans. She looked smaller. Not physically. Just reduced. I didn't move. Just watched through the glass as she hesitated at the porch steps. She didn't knock. Just stood there. I opened the door. Neither of us said anything right away. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes had that hollow shine that grief brings. Not just loss, but the realization that she caused it. Can I come in? She asked finally. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, glancing around like it was foreign land. She didn't sit. Neither did I. I'm not here to beg, she started. I raised an eyebrow. She saw it and gave a sad half-smile. Okay. Maybe a little, she admitted. I need to say things. And I need you to hear them. I nodded once. Not agreement, just permission. She took a breath. I thought about writing another letter, but that felt cowardly. So I'm here. I let her talk. She told me about the motel, about living out of 2 bags, about job interviews that didn't go anywhere, about friends who suddenly went silent, who had excuses, or just never picked up. I thought Tasha would at least let me crash for a while. But she said, and I quote, I'm not the one who opened the door to 3 dicks and closed it behind me. I winced slightly. Not from the words, but the bluntness. She's not wrong, Laura said. Neither are you. She finally sat down at the edge of the couch, her posture unsure. I know I lost everything. I know I destroyed it. I know it's my fault. But I didn't come here to make you fix it. I just needed to stand in front of you and own it. For once. She paused. Her hands trembled. I never really understood what kind of man you were until I broke you. And by the time I saw it, it was too late. You were everything I needed and nothing I appreciated. I looked at her, and for a second, I saw the woman I fell in love with. But then, behind that, the truth returned. The video. The betrayal. The note. The laughter. Why now? I asked. Why show up after all this? Because I couldn't carry it anymore. Not alone. Not without saying it to your face. Not after everything. We sat in silence. Then I said, you did carry it. You still are. But not with me. Not anymore. She nodded slowly. Tears welled up but didn't fall. I know, she whispered. I didn't come to win you back. I came to bury what's left of us with honesty. I owed you that. I stood up. Walked to the fireplace. Looked at the framed photo she hadn't noticed, the one of us on the hiking trail in Colorado. We looked happy. We were. You buried it the night you hit record, I said. Everything since then has just been dust. She stood. Goodbye, Ryan. I hope you find someone who sees you the first time. I didn't walk her to the door. I didn't say goodbye. I listened to her steps fade on the porch, the engine turn over, the gravel crunching beneath the tires. And then I stood there. Alone. But lighter. Because some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some are meant to burn. I stayed at the cabin 2 more weeks after she left. Not because I was hiding. Not anymore. But because I wasn't ready to go forward. Not yet. I needed the silence, the separation, the time to uncoil what had twisted inside me for months, maybe years. There was no final message from her after that visit. No second letter. No late-night call. Just silence. The kind that used to hurt. Now, it felt like a boundary. A line drawn in the ash of what we used to be. I started running again. Nothing serious. Just a few miles around the wooded roads each morning. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. But it felt good. It felt honest. I cooked. I read. I repaired a drawer in the cabin kitchen even though it wasn't mine. I started doing the kind of small things that don't change the world but slowly, steadily, start to stitch a person back together. And somewhere in the middle of that quiet, I realized something. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for an apology. Not for justice. Not even for peace. I was living. Back in the city, I found a new apartment. Smaller. Quieter. Just mine. The landlord was an older guy named Wes who didn't ask too many questions. I liked that. The place had creaky floors and an odd smell when it rained, but I didn't care. It was space I didn't have to share with ghosts. I didn't tell many people I was back. Only Eric, and eventually Chloe. She was the one who gave me the update I didn't ask for but expected. Laura moved in with her aunt. Across town. Got a job at some warehouse call center. Still trying to keep a low profile. Thanks, I said. That was all. She's not talking to anyone, Chloe added. Even Tasha. Burned too many bridges. I nodded. Didn't comment. I started freelancing again. Small IT contracts, remote gigs. Nothing glamorous, but I didn't need glamour. I needed rhythm. And I got it. A month passed. Then 2. And slowly, people stopped tiptoeing around the topic. It wasn't the elephant in the room anymore. It was just a shadow in the rearview mirror. I ran into Rachel once at a bookstore. She didn't see me at first, just browsing the nonfiction aisle like none of it had ever happened. When our eyes met, she froze. Ryan, she said. Careful. Soft. I nodded. Hey. A pause. Then, you look good. Healthier. Thanks. Another pause. I should have said something sooner. That night, at the party. I knew it was too much. I didn't know how far it would go. But I should have stepped in. I should have stopped it. You didn't make her decisions, I said. But you didn't stop her either. She swallowed. I know. I let the silence hang before adding, you can do better next time. That's all any of us can do. She looked stunned for a second. Then she smiled. Sad, but genuine. You're a better man than I gave you credit for, she said. I'm just trying not to be bitter. She nodded. We said goodbye. And I walked out of that bookstore without shaking. That night, I stood on my new balcony, looking over the city lights. They used to feel like noise. Now they just felt alive. I wasn't healed, but I was healing. That mattered. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone else to fix it. It happened on a Thursday. I was in a cafe downtown, my usual corner, headphones in, working on a back-end audit for a client that barely paid on time. I liked the noise there. The dull hum of espresso machines, the casual clink of mugs, and conversations I didn't have to be part of. Background life. I looked up and saw her. No, not Laura. A woman I didn't recognize. She was standing near the counter, arguing with the barista over a drink order that had almond milk instead of oat. Not angry, just animated. Passionate. She glanced my way briefly. I looked back down at my screen, but something about her stuck. Her presence, maybe. Not just her looks, though. Yes, she was beautiful, but something else. Grounded. Real. She found a seat near the window. Alone. Opened a notebook. Started scribbling. I went back to work. The next week, I saw her again. Same cafe. Same seat. Different sweater. This time, she smiled at me. I nodded politely. It became a pattern. Thursdays. Sometimes she was there before me. Sometimes I arrived first. But we were always there. Eventually, I asked her name. Marin, she said. With an I. Like the county. I laughed. I'm Ryan. And that was it. We started talking casually. Cafe talk. Weather, work, how this place always played music 5 years behind trend. Nothing heavy. I didn't tell her anything about Laura or the past. Not at first. I didn't want to lead with damage. But eventually, it came up. We were walking out together after closing, and she asked, "You always seem so grounded, but kind of heavy too. Like you've seen some stuff." I smiled. "You could say that." She didn't press. That's when I knew she wasn't like the others. Over the next month, I saw Marin almost every week. Sometimes in the cafe. Sometimes for walks. Once at a small local museum we both stumbled into by accident and ended up spending 2 hours making fun of abstract sculptures neither of us understood. She had this way of making space feel warmer. Not by trying, she just did. I started to notice things I hadn't felt in years. The way I looked forward to Thursdays. The way a good conversation could light up an otherwise dull week. The way her laugh came from deep in her chest. It scared me. Not because of her, but because of what it meant. What it might turn into. One night, after another long walk through the quiet side streets of the city, she asked me directly, "What happened to you?" We were sitting on a bench under a street lamp. Our coffee cups had long since cooled. I hesitated. She noticed. "You don't have to tell me," she said. "But if you do, I promise I won't run." So I told her. Not everything, but enough. About Laura, the engagement, the betrayal, the video, the silence. When I was done, Marin didn't look shocked. She didn't offer cliches. She didn't even tell me Laura was a monster. She just said, "That kind of pain doesn't disappear, but it does stop bleeding." We sat in silence after that. She reached over, not to hold my hand, just to place hers beside mine on the bench. Close, but not touching, letting me decide. I didn't take her hand that night, but I didn't pull away either. That weekend, Eric called me. We hadn't caught up in weeks. "So," he said, skipping the pleasantries, "what's this I hear about you and someone new?" I sighed. "Chloe. She's not great with secrets. Also not subtle. It's nothing official. Just, I don't know. You're allowed to move on, Ryan. You're not dishonoring anything." I stayed quiet. "She wrecked your house and burned the furniture. You're not wrong for building somewhere else." I knew he was right. But logic and guilt don't always fight fair. The next week, Marin invited me over for dinner. Her apartment was small, filled with books and mismatched furniture. Cozy. Real. She cooked a vegetable stir-fry that was too spicy and apologized 5 times while laughing uncontrollably. "I swear it was mild when I tried it last week," she said, fanning her mouth with a napkin. I couldn't stop smiling. After dinner, we sat on her couch. Not close, but closer. She turned to me. "Do you still love her?" I didn't lie. Sometimes I think I do. But then I realize I'm just remembering who she was, not who she became. Marin nodded. "It's okay if you're not ready. I'm not asking you to be anything. Just here." That was the night I knew I could fall for her. Not because she was perfect, but because she wasn't asking me to forget. She was asking me to exist. But not everything goes smoothly. 2 days later, Laura emailed me. It was short. "I heard you're seeing someone. I hope she's everything I wasn't. If she hurts you, I'll still care." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. No reply. No hesitation. Because I didn't owe her anything anymore. I told Marin about the message the next day. She asked, "Are you okay?" "Yeah," I said. And for once, I didn't have to fake it. Weeks passed. Thursdays became Fridays. Then Tuesdays. Then just whenever. We weren't labeling anything. But we weren't denying it either. One night, I took her to the lake where the cabin had been. The same one I ran to when everything fell apart. We stood at the edge of the water. It was calm. Still. "This is where I came after it all broke," I told her. "It's beautiful," she said. "Like a place that holds pain and peace at the same time." I looked at her. "You're not afraid of broken things, are you?" "No," she said. "As long as they're not sharp anymore." I nodded. And for the first time, I reached for her hand. She took it. No resistance. No fear. Just warmth. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Because healing doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it just comes quietly, on a Thursday, with a hand held in the dark, and no ghosts in the way. And that was enough for me. It was strange how peace made me restless. For weeks, Marin and I settled into something that felt like a rhythm. It wasn't a relationship in the traditional sense. We didn't use labels, didn't talk about the future. But there was a pull, a consistency. She was there, and I was there, and that seemed to be enough. Until I started catching myself hesitating. Not with her, but with myself. I'd wake up in the morning and wonder how I'd gotten from sleeping alone in a freezing cabin to waking up to the sound of someone else's breathing down the hall. I'd find one of her books left on my kitchen table and feel unsettled. Not annoyed. Not invaded. Just unsure. Marin noticed. She didn't push, but she noticed. One night we were walking home from dinner, neither of us in a rush, and she said quietly, "You still flinch sometimes." Not from me. From us. I didn't know how to answer. So I said the only honest thing I could. "I'm not sure what I'm building here, or if I'm still tearing something down." She nodded. "You don't have to figure it out for me, but you do have to figure it out for you." A few days later, I got a call from Janet, Laura's mom. I almost didn't answer. My finger hovered over the decline button, but something, maybe closure, maybe stubbornness, made me swipe. "Hi, Janet." "Ryan," she said. Her voice was tired. "I won't keep you long." "Okay." She's not in a good place. She's not asking for anything. "I just thought you should know. Not because I want you to do something. Just because you were once part of her life. A big part." I didn't know what to say. She's working. Barely. Keeping her head above water. But emotionally? She's not okay. I sat down on the edge of the couch. "Did she ask you to call me?" "No," Janet said. "She doesn't know I'm doing this." "Then why?" "Because I know she ruined everything. And I know you've moved on. But there's a piece of her that's still stuck in the wreckage. And sometimes, people don't crawl out unless someone shines a light." "I'm not her light," I said. "I know. But maybe you're her mirror." That line stuck with me. The next day, I told Marin about the call. She listened. Quiet. Focused. "I'm not going to ask what you're going to do," she said. "Because I already trust that whatever it is, it'll be the right thing for you. For us." I walked to the window and looked out at the city. What do you do when someone who broke you is still breaking? I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. But I wasn't indifferent either. That was the worst part. Not caring would have been easier. Cleaner. I didn't reach out. Not that day. But I started writing. Not to Laura. To myself. I filled 3 pages before stopping. Just thoughts. Not answers. Not plans. I wrote about the night I left. The guilt. The silence. The cabin. The flash drive. The way her voice used to sound when she was happy and I didn't question it. I wrote about Marin. And I realized something. I didn't want to go back. Not even as a rescuer. Not even as a friend. I wanted to let go. Truly. And the only way to do that was to stop looking at her through a window and start looking at myself in the mirror. The following Sunday, Marin and I went to a local gallery. One of those places where nothing makes sense until you give up trying. There was a piece, just a plain mirror. No frame. No explanation. Marin stood in front of it for a while. When I joined her, she looked at our reflections and said, "You know, I used to think healing meant becoming new. But maybe it just means finally recognizing yourself again." I stared at the mirror. Saw the lines on my face. The tired in my eyes. The man I was before, and the man I had to be now. "I think I'm ready," I said. She smiled. Didn't ask what I meant. Because she already knew. And that's when I knew too. It didn't end with a bang. No dramatic confrontation. No final text. No moment where everything snapped into place. It ended with a choice. Mine. And it started with a knock at the door. It was a Tuesday evening. Marin was working late, and I was home alone, reading. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I saw Laura standing there. Not wrecked. Not sobbing. Just quiet. She looked older somehow. Not age changed. Life had worn its lessons into her posture, her eyes. "Hi," she said. No makeup. No performance. Just a woman standing in the aftermath of everything. "Hi," I replied. "Can I come in?" I hesitated. Not out of fear. Out of finality. Because I knew whatever happened in the next 10 minutes would be the last. I let her in. She didn't sit. Neither did I. "I'm not here to beg," she said. I nodded. "Good. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness either." I think I already knew I wouldn't get it. "I don't hate you, Laura." She looked up, startled. "Not anymore," I clarified. "I just don't carry it. The weight. The hope. The need to understand it all." She nodded slowly. "I didn't come to disrupt your life. I heard you're okay now." "I am." She paused, searching for words. "I guess I just wanted to see the man I hurt. Not because I want anything from him. Just because I needed to see that he's still standing." I looked at her. "I was always standing. You just stopped seeing it." A small, sad smile. "Fair." We stood in silence for a moment. Then she said, "I won't contact you again. I mean that. I just needed this. Closure. Real closure." I nodded. "Then take it. And go forward. For real this time." She turned to the door. Opened it. Before she stepped out, She looked back once. Ryan, thank you for letting me be honest. Even this late. I didn't answer. She left. And just like that, it was over. Marin came home later that night. I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Didn't question. She needed to say goodbye, Marin said simply. I nodded. And you? She asked. I needed to know I wasn't carrying her shadow anymore. That night, as we lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling. It felt different. Lighter. No ghosts in the corners. No weight in my chest. Just quiet. Not empty. Full. The next morning, I woke up early. Made coffee. Opened the window to let the breeze in. Marin joined me a few minutes later, her hair a mess, her smile soft. What now? She asked. I looked at her. Looked past her. Into the light. Now we live. And that was it. Not a grand finale. Just a quiet answer. The kind you don't shout. The kind you grow into. The kind that stays.